So we are here today with Michelle Finn, but I will give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, who you are, what you do for a living.
Okay, yeah, I'm Michelle Finn. I am an Irish international athlete and I run the 3,000 meter steeplechase usually. I competed in the Rio 2016 Olympics and I'm just back from the European indoors. So yes, I run the flat 3K or the 5K as well. That's pretty much it.
And do you have any achievements? So you ran in the Olympic Games in Rio and the European Championship. That is something, but like,
Any other achievements, is it?
yeah, like did you win a medal or?
Yeah, I was on two European cross country medal winning teams. So those are probably two of my best achievements, I'd say. Or maybe 2016 Europeans in Amsterdam, I made the final and came seventh. So that's probably maybe not like Olympics seems like a better achievement, but for me that was actually probably my best achievement, I think.
That is great. Then one question I have, because I'm from Berlin originally, so I live in Berlin and I live pretty close to the Olympia Stadium, and I just wanted to ask you, did you ever run in the Olympia Stadium in Berlin?
I have ran there at least 3 or 4 times, I think. Yeah,
Oh,
probably
that's
four
nice.
times. Europeans in 2018 and last year I ran a 2K steeplechase there as well. Yeah, it's a great stadium.
Yeah, I like it
I had
too.
a good day there and I've had an absolutely terrible race there as well. So,
Oh. And how long have you done steeplechasing?
I think I did my first steeplechase maybe I 2009 or 2010. I was in America when I started steeplechasing. I went to college in America, so I think I started over there. So I was in and around that time.
And how did you get into the sport? So how what idea did you have?
How did I get into just athletics in general?
Yeah, and into steeplechasing.
Yeah, well, I think I always did athletics basically for as long as I can remember. Like both of my parents were runners, so they'd always be going out just for runs. Like they didn't really, well, my dad used to race a lot, but both of them were into running. So I think they just put me in all sorts of sports. So like in primary school and secondary school, I just went to athletics training like once a week or twice a week or whenever it was on. But I was going to like football training the day that was on and soccer training in Camogie. So I just kind of did athletics like whenever it was on. And then I went to college in UL for 2 years and I was still doing all the sports at that stage. But I got offered a scholarship to America and I didn't take it first. And then I did second year teaching practice and I hated it. I hated it so much that I got back onto the college in America and was like, oh, can I still come to America? Because I just wanted to get out of teaching. So I went to America, and I think then when I went to America, that's really when I got into it because I couldn't play Gaelic football or camogie anymore, or gymnastics was gone. So basically, when I went to America, athletics was the only sport I went there to run, and that's kind of what I focused on. So that's really when I actually started training properly, I think.
And when did you decide to do it, to want to do it for the rest of your life?
Um, I think when I came home from America, I like I had an undergrad from America and a master's from America, but they were kind of not that they were useless degrees, but like I needed to go back to college again to do something like that I could actually use. So I think there was a year when I came home where I just didn't really have much going on because I wasn't in college. I found it hard to get a job with my American degrees, and I just ended up running a lot. So I had a breakthrough year that year, and I think once I ran like within a couple of seconds of the Olympic qualifying time, I kind of knew that I could probably qualify for the Olympics. And then like once I got a few like good results, I kind of was like, okay, I can do this a bit more.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna pass on to Kendra.
Cool.
Um, just a question I have is what's been like the best highlights of your sporting career? It doesn't like it can be an achievement or like just like the experience. Like I bet Rio must have been amazing. So what is your best highlights of your sporting career?
Um, this thing, I think, I mean, I suppose I have to say Rio, the Olympics, just because it was the Olympics and like obviously everything was really cool. But like just with the opening ceremony and the closing ceremony and just being in the Olympic Village with like I was in like elevators and stuff with Usain Bolt going up and down the elevator, or just
Oh,
you're sitting
wow.
at your dinner. Yeah, and there's so many just like famous athletes from so many different sports, and they're just like chilling there eating and like doing the same thing you're doing. So probably the whole Olympic experience, I think, is probably the highlight.
Okay, that's perfect. I'll hand over back to you, Nikki.
And then the opposite, what were like the lowlights, the lows, and the hardest moments in the sport and in your whole career?
I've had a lot of lowlights. I read this question and I was like, I don't even know what the lowest lowlight was, because there have been so many. But um, even this championships that I'm just back from, I think like it was not that it was like the lowest lowlight, but it's recent. But like, like there's a lot of races where you just don't do well, but like you weren't fully prepared or you've been injured, and like it's going to be hard to do well. Whereas this race that I was going into this time, I was like, I'm actually fit and I'm healthy and I'm like ready to race and make the final, and it just didn't happen. So I think when you feel like you've ticked all the boxes and it just doesn't work out the way you want it, that's like harder than like it's almost harder than when you're underprepared. So
Okay.
Like just to follow on with that question, like how can you do bad in a race? I know that must sound like so, like what do you mean? But like, when obviously I don't do racing and I don't know really much about the sport, but like when you say that, you weren't prepared or you weren't like you just didn't go well, like what can go wrong in the race for you? Is it like as injury like throughout the race, or is it like the mental process before?
I think some of it is just how you feel on the day. Some days you feel good and some days you just don't feel good. Some days you are just not competitive enough and you give up when you should keep trying harder. Oh, it's going to go bad. I mean, I guess you could be really tactically bad and put yourself in the wrong position at the wrong time, or yeah,
Right.
there's a few different ways. It's a stick, you fall over the barriers.
And for you, is a race where you like more in the last places of the race automatically a bad race, or a race where you in the front automatically a good race, or?
No, not necessarily at all. I don't think. I think like in this race, I actually only ran a couple of seconds off my PB, but I just knew I was in better shape than what my PB was because I ran my PB completely by myself. Like, so I think this race, it wasn't about the position. Like, if I would have felt like I ran my best and I still didn't make the final, like I would have been like, okay, it just wasn't enough, and like I couldn't make the final, but it just didn't feel like it was as good as I was able to do. So I think it's not necessarily the position, or not even necessarily the time. It's more a feeling of like whether you've actually like given your best effort on the day, I think.
Okay, so then the fourth question we have is like, what advice would you give to like younger athletes that, maybe they're enjoying the sport and they want to take it further? What advice would you give to them?
Well, I think given the best advice there to start with anyway, if they're enjoying the sport, that's definitely like 100% the main thing. I think you can't do well in a sport that you're not enjoying. Like if you're forcing it, you just won't do well. You need to enjoy it. So like if you need to find training partners or you need to find a coach that makes you enjoy it, I think that's the main thing. And also just persistence. Like I just said, I've definitely had way more low points than high points, and I think if you stick with it and are just persistent and persistent and persistent, like eventually you do, like you get the highlights, like you get to go to the Olympics or you get to win a medal someday on a team cross country team or something. So I think just stick with it, and that's it pretty much. That's my most advice.
That's right.
What would you say are the most important personality or character traits you have to be like in professional sport?
I think you need to be resilient, because in most sports there is more lows than highs, and you need to be able to like get the lows and like come back from them. So I think you need to be able to kind of roll with the punches a bit. And also I think you just need to like believe that you are good enough to be there, and if you're on the line, you're good enough to be there, you're good enough to race. Or if you're on a panel in any sport or any team, like you're on that panel for a reason, so you need to like just believe that you kind of belong there.
That's perfect. Will we do our rapid questions now, Nikki?
Yeah.
Okay, so these are just rapid questions, so like you don't need to think about it too much. But
Okay.
like, what's your favorite junk food?
Oh, chocolate. Any kind of chocolate, just plain.
You have a hidden talent, or even more hidden talents.
I love knitting.
Oh wow! Can you like, what have you knitted before?
I've knit loads of different hats and scarves, and I just bought a pattern for a jumper, so I'm about to start my first jumper now. I'm waiting for the wool to arrive in the post.
That's so cool. I'm so bad at knitting. My nan's tried to teach me before,
Me
and I
too.
just can't get it.
I don't know if it's a talent now, but that's what I'm going with.
No, it definitely is.
Yeah. What is your favorite movie and or TV show?
Oh, that's really hard because I'm really bad at watching TV. I really don't know. Favorite movie, maybe When Harry Met Sally. That's like
Oh
a
yeah, that's good. Yeah.
film, but it's funny. But I don't really watch that much TV.
All right, that's okay.
If you were an animal, what would you be?
I think I'd be a lion
Oh,
because I have them here.
oh.
If you could go and live in any country, which country would it be?
Oh, maybe Australia because that's one of the most recent places that I've been.
Oh, when did you go there?
Last January.
And like, did
Before
you?
the start of the coronavirus, I came home early because it was all kicking off then.
Oh, right, right. And do you like, were you racing there, or was it just a holiday?
I was training and racing there, yeah. So I went over to train with a good team in Australia. But
Do you listen to music? And if so, what's your favorite type, favorite song, or favorite artist?
oh, that's really hard. I like Jerry Cinnamon, I like Mick Flannery, and I also like just pretty much anything that's in the top 40.
And do you listen to music while you're practicing?
I listen to music on easy runs, but not on hard session beats.
Okay.
So we got a few questions in from our Instagram page. They're just one or two, but the first one is, do you get nervous before your races?
Yes, I get nervous before some races more than others, but yeah, I think I get nervous when I'm expected to win, and I get nervous when I'm pace making for somebody else because I don't want to mess up their race.
All right. So like, when someone says like, when you say that someone like you're expected to win, like what do you mean by that? Like, do people say, oh, you can definitely win this, or is there someone going, you need to win this? Like how does
Both. Both. Like, I think if I go to the Olympics, nobody expects me to win, or I think that's a bad thing too when people write you off before you even step on the line. But I think at races in Ireland, a lot of the time I'm expected to win, and it would be like an upset if I didn't win. So I think that makes me a bit nervous.
All right. The second question is, who is your biggest inspiration?
Oh, I don't know. I'm going to say, I feel like I answer this question differently every time, but I'm going to say for this one, Paul Robinson, because he's an Irish athlete as well. And he was fourth at European Champs in 2014. So that was like, I don't know, what, 6 years ago, was it? But he's basically just got injury after injury after injury. And then he came back this year, won the national champs and qualified for Europeans and made the final. So I think it was a good lesson in persistence and just sticking with it and having a bit of faith in yourself.
Wow, that's great. Then the last question is, do you have like an eating plan? Like, what exactly do you eat? Do you have to eat certain things, or is it just a normal like routine that you eat?
It's pretty normal. I think if people saw the amount of chocolate I eat, they probably would be surprised. But for the most part, I eat really good food. I think I eat like, I don't have an eating plan. I don't count calories and I don't like pay that much attention. I eat when I'm hungry and I stop eating when I'm full. But I definitely like make an effort to like eat all the food groups. Like I eat loads of fruit and I eat loads of veg and I eat protein. And then like if I want chocolate after I've eaten all the good stuff, I eat chocolate after I've eaten all the good stuff.
That's good. That's definitely something that I'm gonna have to remember. I'm like, well, Michelle did say that, you know, if you eat all your stuff, I can have chocolates.
I'm a big believer. If it makes you happy.
Exactly. I definitely have to tell my mum that one. Well, I think that's all the questions we have. And once again, just thank you so much for coming on this interview with us. I know you must be so busy, especially with all your races, but it's been so nice to be talking to you. And is there anything that you want to add or anything like that? Or
I don't think so, but thank you for having me. And I hope you're having a good time in Zoom school.
oh yeah, it's actually been really good. Like especially doing stuff like this. That like I mean, I don't think we would have got this one-on-one if you had to come to the school, or we might have not even got to talk to you. So I definitely think there's like good things and bad things about online school. This is definitely a good thing.
Yay! That's good.